builds. Hey everyone, welcome to a special kind of video that we don't make too often. Some of you may know I love to play a lot of off-meta champions for two reasons. First, there are so many champions that just aren't played very often because everyone wants to follow the meta. And the second reason is that if you play a champion that isn't played often, or play a champ in a role that they don't normally play, they won't be too sure how to play against it. The champion we have for you today is simple, has one of the best laning phases in the game, and is my go-to blind pick and challenger right now. That champion is Vi mid. Vi is normally a jungler, so if you blind pick her, obviously nobody is going to think you're mid and counter you. Her laning phase, like I said, is one of the best in the game and she's really hard to gank. So we're first going to give you a general playstyle guide, and throughout the video we'll cover builds and runes. I'm sure you're wondering, how could Vi be strong in mid? Well, it all comes down to her passive, her E, and her base health regen. Vi has the highest base health regen in the game, sitting at 10 every 5 seconds, and gets 1 each level, eventually getting to 27 per 5 seconds. Now Vi's passive, Blast Shield, gives her a shield every time she hits an enemy with an ability. This includes minions. So by using these two things together, you are extremely difficult to poke out a lane. There is a cooldown on your Blast Shield though. Playstyle is very simple. Whenever the enemy champion goes to harass you, you use your E to proc your shield to nullify their damage, poke them, and push the wave all at the same time. Vi's W is a 3-hit passive. When you proc it, it gives Vi bonus attack speed, shreds 20% of their armor, and does a percentage of their maximum health as damage. But that's not the most important part. Whenever you proc or W, it reduces the cooldown of your passive, the Blast Shield, by 3 seconds. So you want to auto a minion 3 times whenever it's down to reduce the cooldown of it and get the shield up again. When it comes to which abilities to max, you want to max E first and then your Q, even though your Q gives more damage. This is very important because you don't want to be using your Q in lane very often. This is what makes her so hard to gank. If you have Q and get ganked, you can just charge it up and Q away. You want to just whittle them down with your E, then when going in for the kill, that's when you use your Q. So now that you have a general idea down, let's look at some gameplay, as there are some small things you need to know as well, and this just sounds too easy, doesn't it? The first game we're going to look at is a Smurf game in gold to show you how it looks at lower ranks, then we're going to jump into a challenger replay. I'm against Ahri in this one, a ranged champion, so I started with a Doran Shield. Remember when we said Vi is the highest base health regen in the game? Well, now combine that with a Doran Shield and your regen is insane. When it comes to starting items, you can always go Doran Shield in any matchup. But in some melee matchups, I like Doran's Blade if I know I won't need the regen. Experiment and see what works for you. I walk up to the minions, and when Ahri goes to auto attack me, I use my E on the melee minion, which hits her and procs my Blast Shield. First, look at the damage from 1 E. That's a lot of damage for an ability that has 2 charges and costs 26 mana. Then after that, I walk up to the range once and hit it with my E again, since Ahri's level 1 is pretty weak. When it comes to Vi's E, you don't want to be spamming it like this all the time. If I was against Syndra, I would be playing more defensive with my E, using it to block damage and grab CS while poking at the same time, whereas the last E I used was a just pure offensive one for poke. It will depend on the matchup. You don't want to have no charges of your E when you need it for the shield. But after that, I finish collecting CS and clear the wave. The last E I used here wasn't good. You pretty much want every single E you go for to connect with the enemy champion, as it has a large range, and if they go to harass you, they should be hit. The next wave arrives and I use my E again. Look at Ahri's health already, and I haven't even been close to melee range of her. I've just been spamming my E and I nearly have full mana. Since I don't have my E, I collect some CS with autos and take some damage from Ahri that I don't care about. With Doran's Shield, I just regen all of it back up. When I hit level 2, I level up my Q next. This is important as your Q is your escape, so always grab it at level 2. Anyways, the wave pushes back to me after that, and I'll show you another use of your E when it comes to minion control. You can use your E to thin the wave like this so you can freeze, or just to trim it down so the enemy doesn't have a huge wave to fight with. When I hit level 3, notice I do not put another point in my W. You want to put another point in E here, as the damage it gives is much more than what the W will give at this point in the game. You are mostly poking with E and not going all in anyways. But I walk up to the ranged minions for 2 reasons here. First, I'm trying to bait Ahri's charm, and I want to poke her. It works perfectly, and it baits her charm out. Since it's down, I know the enemy jungler is top. I walk back towards her and charge up my Q to go in. Your Q does much more damage based on how much you charge it up, so keep that in mind. And when trying to land this ability, let them juke themselves out. It goes very fast, so charge it, let them dodge back and forth a bit, then just put your mouse on them. Don't try to lead it too much or anything. But I hit her with Q, auto her with my Halo Blades, then back off. I don't do much damage here because I don't have any E charges left, and that's another reason you don't want to spam it too much, but it's still good damage. After that, the lane is looking pretty good. She's about 30% mana and 50% health, while I'm at 80% health and still have my potion. When the next wave arrives, watch how it's obvious Ahri's going to use her Q, so I use my E to proc my shield, block her damage, and chunk her again. I mean, just look at the damage it's doing, it's so insane. Then I just work on clearing the wave to crash on tower. Now this is a good time to talk about another strong part of the strategy. In this lane so far, I haven't dropped below 80% health or used my potion, and I can push the wave and crash it easily without using my Q, which gives me mid priority whenever I want it. Being able to do this is huge. It lets you get vision whenever you want, roam to jungle fights or other lanes, and gives you a tempo advantage on the enemy mid. Basically meaning you'll always be able to shove and recall before them, so you get back out on the map faster unless you poke them out of lane, which is always good. Anyways, after I crash the wave, I walk into bot river and drop a ward here since my jungler is taking top scuttle. I figure the enemy Nidalee will come here for bot scuttle soon. When I come back to lane, Ahri is playing way too aggressive with no mana, so I charge up my Q, and watch this little trick I do here which lets me land a lot more Qs even against challengers. A lot of players don't realize how far Vi's Q can go, because like I said, not many people play against Vi. So you can start charging it, then turn around acting like you're not going to go for it, then turn again and go in. It works very well hitting max range Qs. But after I land it, this is where the Halo Blade is good. You want to auto E, then auto again very fast since your E is an auto reset. I walk away a bit after that to bait her to walk up a bit, then flash auto E ignite to finish her off. But I could have just used E on the minion and ignited her for the kill. I didn't need to flash. But either way, you see the damage is very high when you have your E charges in all in. This next clip is a good example of how strong your level 6 is as well. I want to dive this Ahri since she's around half health, so I start charging my Q. She charms me with her E and cancels it though. If Vi's Q is cancelled mid-channel, it drops to a 3-second cooldown. As I start running away, Nidalee hits me off screen with a spear. If we pause here, does this look like a situation that a champion could get out of? Of course not. Most champions would die here. But I use my ult on Nidalee, which procs my blast shield, ignite her, then auto, E, and tap my Q. This is the important part. Even though Q does more damage when you charge it longer, sometimes you want to just tap it for the CC chain like this, which lets me kill her before she can use anything. And as you can see, this is with my E being maxed, even though Q gives more damage. Vi has a ton of burst even without the Q max. For this next clip, I'm roaming down bot since the enemy bot lane and jungler are overextended. The fed one is Ezreal, but it's 3 of them. If I get CC chained, I can easily be killed. So I start charging my Q to get Ezreal to E away from me, and since he uses his E too far away from the morgue to get her black shield, I Q onto him and chunk him pretty hard. Now the important part here is how I use my ult. Vi is unstoppable during her ult, so you want to use it to go through CC. So as soon as morgue binding is hitting me, I ult to Ezreal to ignore it and finish him off. Then when my Q comes back up, I use it to kill the morgue as well. Alright, so I'm sure some of you are thinking, it can't be this easy in high elo. Well, let's jump to a game in high elo where I'm playing Vi versus Annie bot. As I'm sure most of you know, he's the best Annie on the server. At the start of the lane, it's going to look a lot like the previous one in gold. I use E on the melee minions to poke Annie and proc the shield in case she uses her Q on me, then I collect the last hit before backing off again. So in high elo, I'm a lot more reserved with my E, and I'm not just spamming it as it leaves me open to being punished. Then when I walk up for these 2 ranged minions, I see Annie is trying to harass, so I angle towards her using E to collect the minions and poke her. I didn't have my shield for this one, but it's okay since I was full health. After that, the next wave arrives. When Annie walks up to use Q, I use my E just in case she's using it on me and poke her some more. I think about going all in for level 2 kill, but she backs off pretty quickly, so I use it to help clear the wave to crash it on the tower. Alright, so in just 2 waves, Annie has already used both of her potions and the lane is over. In high elo, things like this are a big deal. If I have full health and still have my potion with Doran's shield, and she's already used both of her potions in 2 waves, there's no way she can win the lane anymore. But I drop a ward bot side and go back into mid lane and do the same things as before until Karthus comes from behind me to gank. Remember I said if you use Q smartly, you're really hard to gank. Well, look how easy it is to escape. I just charge up my Q and go over the wall to safety. You can go over any of these walls near mid, so you have a lot of escape routes. After I get ganked, I walk back into mid and poke Annie a little and hit level 4. She's low enough to kill, so I charge up Q, land it, then auto and E, and she flashes away. Ignite would have killed her, but she levels up right before she dies, which was extremely lucky for her. Either way, as you can see, even in Challenger, Vi's laning is very, very good. She's my go-to blind pick as I don't think she has many losing matchups. Alright, so you get the idea. Before we jump into Vi's runes and builds, I quickly want to mention that this channel is just a taste of what we have over at skillcapped.com. We have by far the largest catalog with over 800 premium guides just like these ones. They're part of over 100 Challenger tailored courses designed to get you improving and fast. You can even input your rank before signing up for the long-term plan to see where we think you'll climb to. If you don't reach that rank while actively using skillcapped, you'll be eligible for a refund. So if you're serious about actually climbing, then what are you waiting for? With that said, let's jump into the runes and builds. For runes, I've been taking 2 main pages. Against tankier teams with a lot of melee champions, I like to run this Conqueror page as the burst from Halo Blades isn't as useful. You can take the Tenacity rune instead of attack speed if they have a lot of crowd control. Then for squishy teams, you can take this Halo Blades page. You can swap Relentless Hunter to Ultimate Hunter if you want, or Sudden Impact Blood if the lane is very hard and you want the extra sustain. For builds, Vi can build a lot of different items. You can build her as a tanky bruiser, or even as a bursty assassin. The core items though are Tiamat and Triforce. Tiamat lets you clear waves without having to use all of your E charges, which is important since you max E first. And Triforce is Vi's staple item. It does so much for her. She synergizes very well with Sheen, you can get it off twice with one rotation. After those two items you have a lot of different options. They have a lot of AP, I like to go Wit's End. They have a lot of burst, I'll go Sterix or Guardian Angel, sometimes even Death's Dance. If they are really squishy and you are snowballing, you can go Yumu's Ghostblade. Experiment with the builds and let us know if you find something good, as there are so many different ways to build her. Alright guys, so now you know the secret OP pick that I'm using right now. Let us know how it goes, and if you want more guides just like this one, as I have plenty more great off-meta picks. Remember to check us out over at skillcapped.com. We've also just launched a brand new Valorant channel, so go ahead and check out that video right now if you're interested in that. Thanks for watching.